So, what really happens inside your brain when you let an AI do the heavy lifting? And I'm not just talking about, making things more convenient. We're going to dive into the actual science behind what could be a massive shift in how we think. What we're finding is that the real cost of all this AI assistance, well, it might be totally unseen.
I mean, think about that for a second. It's a huge question. We use these tools every single day to be faster, to be more efficient, but could there be a hidden price for all that ease? What if, by outsourcing our thinking, we're actually changing the very hardware we think with? Well, to get some real answers, researchers at the MIT Media Lab designed this brilliant experiment to measure the effects of AI assistance directly. And they didn't just ask people how they felt. No, they literally monitored their brain activity with EEG scans while they were working, giving us this incredible look right under the hood. Okay, so here's how they set it all up. They took 54 people and split them into three groups. The first group, they got ChatGPT. The second group could use a classic search engine, like Google. And the third group, the brain-only crew, well, they had to rely completely on whatever was already in their heads. The task was the exact same for everybody. Pick an official SAT essay prompt and then write a response. And they only had 20 minutes to do it. It's a pretty straightforward, high-pressure assignment, right? Designed to make people reach for whatever tools they have. But the results? Oh, the results were anything but straightforward. So the very first clue that something was different came from the English teachers who actually graded the essays. They said that a lot of the AI-assisted essays just felt soulless. I mean, sure, they were grammatically perfect, structured just fine, but they were missing that spark of originality, that personal insight, that human voice. An interesting observation for sure, but maybe not concrete proof. But then the researchers asked this one simple memory question that just blew the doors open and revealed this massive, undeniable difference between the groups. All they asked was, can you quote a single sentence from the essay you just finished writing? And here are the results. Just look at this difference. A staggering 83% of the ChatGPT group could not quote a single sentence from the essay they had just produced. For the other two groups, that number was only 11%. This is not a small gap, people. This is a massive disconnect between doing the work and actually holding on to it. And there were other clues, too. A linguistic analysis showed that the LLM essays were way more similar to each other, a lot less original. Participants in that group also talked about feeling a fragmented and conflicted sense of authorship, almost like they weren't really the ones who created the work. They just didn't feel any ownership over the ideas. Okay, these behavioral clues are fascinating. But remember, the MIT study went deeper. Thanks to those EEG monitors, they could see the neurological reason for all these differences. So, what was going on in the wiring? The contrast was just stark. It was like night and day. The brain-only group's brains were firing on all cylinders. Their scans showed this robust, widespread connectivity. The networks for memory, language, executive control, they were all lit up, talking to each other. But the LLM group, their brains were quiet. Way lower connectivity, especially in the parts of the brain we use for deep thinking, for paying attention, and for making those meaningful connections. This phenomenon actually has a name. It's called cognitive offloading. It's what happens when we use any tool, really, a calculator, a GPS, or ChatGPT, to lower our own mental effort. The brain basically recognizes it doesn't have to do the heavy lifting of coming up with ideas or structuring arguments or finding the right words, so it just doesn't. And while offloading all that effort might seem super efficient in the moment, the researchers suggest it leads to a new and pretty concerning long-term effect. And they gave it a powerful, really memorable name. They call it cognitive debt. And you should think of it exactly like financial debt. You get the immediate benefit, right? The cognitive ease. You don't have to struggle, but you pay for it later. By constantly outsourcing the work of thinking, we might be weakening the very neural pathways that are responsible for critical thinking, creativity, and independent problem solving. So what does paying that debt actually look like? Well, the study suggests it could mean a reduced ability to come up with our own ideas. It could lead to skill atrophy, where our mental muscles for things like brainstorming just get weaker because we're not using them. And maybe the most concerning part, it could make us way more vulnerable to just accepting shallow ideas without really thinking them through. Now, the crucial point the researchers make isn't that AI is bad, not at all. It's that the way we use it matters immensely.
The goal is to use the tool to support your own thinking, not substitute it completely. It's the critical difference between having a co-pilot and just switching on the autopilot and taking a nap.
Which really leaves all of us at a kind of technological crossroads. AI is not going away. In fact, its capabilities are only going to grow. So, knowing what we now know about this idea of cognitive debt, the question isn't if we will use these tools, but how. So, how will you choose to use yours?